What if you got a second chance to redo your mistakes? Not per se getting sent back in time, but being brought to the present to tie up some final loose ends. What would you do differently this time? Say goodbye to a loved one, maybe face that friend you had a falling out with, or maybe correct your own death. We often don't get second chances, and when presented with the opportunity, how would you handle what you meant to people? How would you handle your fate? Destiny has, in a sense, wrestled with this in a sort of meta-narrative way, constantly getting second, third, fourth, and fifth chances. Oh, that will be part of the discussion. This is less about the meta-narrative of Destiny, but the direct themes. While fate often applies to the end of a journey, it can also be used as a synonym for purpose. Both these definitions in Destiny are used interchangeably when talking about fate. Fate has been present since the beginning of Destiny, something that even the developers have pointed out.
There's a line that emerged in Destiny 1 that wasn't planned for, but is very deliberate by the person who put it in the game, and is very resonant for Destiny players, and resonant for me as a person. And that line is, Guardians make their own fate.
What may have started as just a cool line in a raid became the crux of a lot of Destiny's story themes. It's a concept the player character is both forced to fight against and somewhat used throughout the Light and Dark Saga.
To wield paracausality is to somewhat exert a fate over the universe. You dictate your own will into elemental concepts, whether it takes the form of physical concepts such as starlight, momentum, the nothingness in between, or the mental desires such as control or letting go. Fate is something that many of the villains struggle with as it conflicts with their own ideals. Dominus Skull finds Guardians weak as they can escape the fate of death. The Hive God siblings all seek a way to reach a fate of a widowed universe, and Riven can manipulate the wishes and subsequent fates of her victims. However, there is one campaign that covers fate the most heavily, and it's villain, heroes, and conclusion. One where the fate of everything is the centerpiece of the conflict. The final shape, conclusion of the Light and Dark Saga, carries its themes of fate and purpose throughout the entire narrative, from the main story to the post-campaign, finally, its aftermath. The journey through the Pillar is symbolic of when faced with choosing your own fate. What do you decide to do with it? This is going to be a long trek, so sit back, relax, as I take you through the final act of a 10-year story.
This might be the end.
If it is, it was an honor to serve the last city with you.
Our first moments entering the Traveler leaves us stranded and alone, left on the remains of the Dreadnought. The section acts as sort of an album intro for the entire themes of the expansion as a whole. The fractured memories of the Guardians scatter this intro, showing the disjointed steps of our journey. This acts as a nightmare for what the final shape may be for the Guardian, a world trapped in our eternal journey of slaying monsters of humanity.
The Witness is pushing back against me, trying to exert its will over everything. I will hold the portal open as long as I can. The fate of all things rests on you. Guardian, hurry.
This first mission acts as a strong focus for our Guardian as a whole. While there isn't much to comment on Mara's line that isn't too obvious, it builds the stakes further that this is the battle for control over the fate of everything. It is here we also encounter our first bound enemy, which are shielded with this pink aura preventing them from taking any damage from us. Up until this point, we have shown mastery over every other form of power we've been able to acquire, yet we are still not strong enough to defeat these forces, almost as if fate itself is being denied from us. We have no choice but to run for now. As we finally approach the Traveler, Mara gives us one final warning, for we are pulled in and given a vision. Consistently throughout the franchise, the Travelers communicate with the Guardian with these visions involving symbolism with birds, often representing itself. We see that the world that the Traveler has constructed is being consumed by a dark ooze, smothering the light and the garden the Traveler has cultivated. It also shows us the two Vanguard leaders being consumed by this darkness, hinting that without our help, their fate is to be consumed. We are also given the image of the Ace of Spades in a field of grass that begins to wilt. Ace belonged to the previous Hunter Vanguard, Cade 6, who died before the events of the final shape. There is some significance to this part of the vision I'll get to later. The imagery of dead ghosts could be representing the final deaths of the Vanguard or being a representation of the death of hope. Ghosts symbolically have represented hope for humanity's survival, and their death here could be a representation of hope being snuffed out for humanity. It also ties into another theme of the final shape, that being the purpose of ghosts. Throughout the series, ghosts have been companions to Guardians, however, their purpose has always been tied to finding the right one. Ghosts haven't had much agency when it comes to what their ultimate purpose was, or what they need to be doing to save their Traveler, just that they know that that's what they need to be doing. Seeing their deaths here before entering the Traveler, especially what is possibly a vision of the future, is grim. Finally, there's the astronaut, a callback to the first cutscene in Destiny 1 and representation of the Guardian themselves. We see them wield all 5 paracausal elements before shifting to a new pink aura we saw before. Could this be the key to preventing the final shape? As we gain control over our character again, we can begin walking across the bridge into a tangle of roots. Around us, that pink aura begins to shape the world around us. Almost as if we ourselves are a god, forming our own place in the universe for ourselves. As we continue, we finally breach out and are greeted with the Pale Heart.
We've crossed the threshold. This is it. We're really here. I can feel the light here. It's everywhere. The grass, the air. It's not what I expected the heart of the Traveler would be like, but it's beautiful, isn't it? And so familiar.
If the start of the mission was a disjointed collection of memories, here our journey starts proper. The world begins to form for the Guardian's earliest memories, giving us memories of how the tower feels. This also acts as an introduction to the idea of the Pale Heart, forming physical from thought, giving a familiar environment to act as our first foothold.
Servants of the Witness. They must be remnants from a conquered species.
However, just because we're somewhere familiar doesn't mean this place is completely comforting. I skipped over their initial appearance, but this is the Dread, the Witness's soldiers formed from its disciples. Its etymology invokes ideas of brutality, with many of the names implying bringing cruelty upon others, such as tormentors, grim, and subjugators. They act as reminders of the Witness's feelings towards other races blessed by the light are. It desires them to understand that fight or accept it, dread is all they should feel towards their fate, even in the final shape. Some of the other etymology is more specific names, such as Omen and Harbinger, the former implying a foretelling or warning of something, and the latter implying a bringing of something. Both these names work in double meanings, as they're meant to be signs of the final shape, however they're also warnings of the forthcoming fate, that being of the Witness's goals. Lastly, there are Weavers, which while being tied to Strand share the implications with the Weavers of Fate from Greek mythology. A famous mythos that is tied to the Weavers of Fate, who determine the fate of everything. This goes in hand with the idea that the Weavers work to help create the final shape and create one final fate for everything. Finally, we push into the old Vanguard War Room, a place that has some significance in the final shape, with it being the place once held significance where we not just met our mentors, but friends, comrades. And in this location, we are given access to Prismatic. Prismatic is a representation of the pinnacle of our abilities as a Guardian. It is the height of our control over paracausality and it represents our growth. We are able to control light and dark at the same time, showing our acceptance of both aspects of the universe, both the physical and the memory. It represents us dictating our own fate, not being controlled by dictators of light or the Witness. Nobody shapes our future except us. However, despite all that, we are only one Guardian. While we can fight back, we are only as powerful against a being that can reshape the fate of everything. It is in this moment where we are lost that our best guide returns to us.
Thanks. So, what's next? We're outmatched. We're alone, and what is that noise?
It's coming from over there.
You gotta get better boots, Crow. I could hear you coming a mile away. Now, Aldrin. He could sneak up on a fella. You're not Crow.
Cade, the last Hunter Vanguard, brought back from the dead to help us. Cade originally died at Forsaken at the hands of the Awoken Prince, Aldrin Sov. Fitting that the now Guardian Crow would be the first person that Cade encounters after mysteriously coming back.
I finally have someone to talk to about Crow's stupid haircut.
When I mentioned Ace of Spades from before, this is what I was referring to. Without our involvement, it seems to imply that Cade would have withered away in here, without someone to help guide. We are the tip of the spear, but Cade is our mentor that will make sure we have a plan pushing forward. This was reflective of how Bungie devs described Cade going into the expansion.
That crystallized Cade's role as a guide. Cade is Virgil.
This is in specific reference to the poet Virgil, who most commonly is depicted in Dante's Inferno as a guide through hell. Cade is left without light or a ghost to revive him, but what he does have is the experiences and skills as a Hunter Vanguard to guide us and form a plan to take down the Witness. Much like Dante's descent into hell, we are fated to venture through the Pale Heart. However, unlike Dante, we're here to kill the devil. Cade is also set up to be the opposite of the Witness, an opposite in terms of thematic relevance. The Witness is a being who forced itself into the Traveler and has been working to take control of the fate of everything. This is juxtaposed to Cade, who through mysterious reasons has been forced back to life and has had no agency over his fate for a majority of his life. He was forced through the EXO program, made a bad bet that forced him into the Vanguard, and finally, jumped into a bad situation that resulted in his death. Cade 6 is the exact person who the Witness is trying to prevent from suffering. Yet, Cade continues to get back up and resist. A god with all the power fighting a lone gunslinger with nothing. A fitting duality between characters that shows the difference in control over one's fate.
Feels a bit strange being back on this side of the comms. Just like the good old days.
We load up with the simple goal of tracking down Crow so we can begin forming a crew to take down the Witness. As we approach our descent into the landing, we encounter the same light bird again.
I ever tell you about the Hunter Vanguard before me? His name was Andal Brask. He was my mentor. Great shot. Terrible gambler. Still, we had this friendly little wager about what was inside the Traveler. I told him there's nothing. So of course Andal says, well then I'm betting on everything. Everything. Lucky guess.
Cade here is reflective of the nature of the Pale Heart. It's constructed out of the intertwined lives of those who enter it, and by extension, the fates of each of the characters that enter are dependent on one another.
Cade, is that you? Glint, where's the damn kid? I've been trying to raise you both on comms for hours. Gone. The hell do you mean, gone?
The anomaly we were investigating, it's a construct of darkness, I think, a cave mouth. It felt wrong, like it doesn't belong here. I begged him not to go inside, but you know how he is. I tried to follow, I did. That barrier, this place, the cave, it's impossible for me to push past it all.
Stay where you are. We'll find a way through.
Finally, contact. We managed to find Crow's ghost, but not himself. Glint is paranoid that something has happened to Crow.
Please hurry, Guardian. Crow has no one to raise him if he falls.
Glint, this ain't your fault.
My Guardian. My responsibility.
And you're his. I know you want eyes on him, but you need to stay out of sight until help gets there.
Players throughout the series have shown that their time with the Guardian is more than just an obligation. They're companions. Even when everything in the world is against their Guardian, they are still there for their Guardian. However, this loyalty often leads to ghosts giving their everything for their Guardian, including their lives. We've seen this before with Eris Morn's ghost Brya and Osiris' ghost Sagira. Both have sacrificed themselves so their Guardian could continue living. It's as if Ghost's ultimate purpose, their fate, is to give everything to their Guardian, including their lives.
Cade, what do you make of that bird that led us to Glint?
That seems pretty obvious to me. I think it's pretty obvious to you too. The mystery is why nobody wants to say it out loud.
It's clear at this point that the bird is not only a manifestation of the Traveler, but it is integral to our journey to follow it as it leads us through the Pale Heart. This ties back to the visions we had before, showing that we had enacted our own will over the Witness's hold.
This must be it. Glint's right. This feels cancerous. Like a blight. But it's different somehow. What is this?
Indecision.
Guardian.
You were thrust
into an unending life
of certitude.
It's in my mind, trying to tear me apart.
Let us free you from this architect of your enslavement.
No! I did it. I fought it off. Shut it out.
No matter. Our voice will suffice.
The Witness here starts by acknowledging the fate we're forced into. We are destined to serve a silent god as undying protectors. It offers freedom from our existence, a temptation from the devil. Hey look, I mentioned the name of the mission. The final shape marks a freedom from having to think, from existence. However, to remove the ability to think and act of one's own fate, do they really have control over their own existence? Ghost manages to fight him off, however it begins to damage him. While this push is noble, it ties back to what I said earlier about ghosts and sacrificing themselves for their guardians. Ghost has already started to give himself to block out the Witness from invading our mind and controlling us.
We offered to erase Prince Aldrin's stain from the Dream City. To grant Crow dominion of the Reef, the Awoken, and all the stars beyond. But he chose pain.
Here the Witness begins to analyze Crow as a character. It goes through the biggest failures in Crow's life to use against him, those being his failures under his past life as Prince Aldrin. Crow's regret forms a barrier from him reaching enlightenment. He's constantly held back from moving forward due to his past sins as Prince of the Reef. His connections to his sister, the creation of the Scorned, and of course, the killing of Cade 6. These actions haunt Aldrin alongside the mistakes he made as a Guardian, such as killing Cradle's scion in Season of the Risen. These failures mark Crow's character up to this point. Despite all that he's done, he has been unable to move forward from the root of his sins, the killing of Cade. His memories as Aldrin Solve, while being redeemed, still cloud his actions, holding himself back from moving forward. The Witness promises to relieve that fate, either drowning him in it or sending him past it.
Stop listening to it!
I told you to wait outside. This place is... I don't know what kind of effect it's going to have on you.
He's right, Glint.
I don't care. He doesn't get to make those decisions for me. We're supposed to be a team. Guardian and Ghost. That's how the Traveler made us.
I'm sorry.
Don't ever leave me behind again. Promise.
I promise.
Crow and Glint are finally reunited. One Vanguard member down, 2 to go. This first act works as a great introduction to the cast and each one's issue going into the expansion. Their weaknesses, their doubts, their things that could be exploited by the Witness with temptation. This is what marks our journey throughout the Pale Heart, and the threat the Witness leads with the final shape.
I came across some wreckage when I was scouting earlier. Dismissed it as another anomaly until Ghost described Ikora's ship.
No one was inside. So she's alive. We just have to find her.
Mission begins with us continuing our way through the Pale Heart. Using Light and Dark, we continue to push forward. Something of note about this section is how much the Dreaming City architecture is used. A very direct interpretation is how our memories of the Dreaming City felt like, giant crystalline rooms and chambers. However, this can also be reflective of Cade and Crow's intertwined history. For Cade, Forsaken was the expansion he died in, relating its location to him in a meta sense. For Crow, the Dreaming City was the place where Uldren Sov died, at the hands of the Guardian and Petrovenge. It is also where he was resurrected and born again as Crow. In a sense, it's a transition point, representing change of the fate for these two characters.
There! Up ahead! We know Ikora abandoned her ship. Maybe she found something.
Maybe so, but going it alone isn't worth the risk. I learned that the hard way.
Luckily, she's got the two sharpest hunters in the system to back her up.
Ah, yeah! And when do they get here?
The repeating theme in Cade's dialogue is experience. Many of his lines reference the fact he remembers his death to the very second his light faded. Because of this, many of his lines speak with the experience on the importance of being cautious and not jumping the gun. Returning from the depths of Venus in our time of need is the Aegis Shield, now to help us create openings further into the Pale Heart. The Aegis was originally forged with the light of Kabir the Legionless, and was further used by Guardians to break into the time-manipulating Vex of the Vault of Glass. The shield represents the resistance to fate imposed by the Witness and other enemies of humanity. To use the literal tagline, Guardians make their own fate, after its use in an alternate Venus timeline to return us to the present. The shield has an ability to return to us in our time of need and resist the most powerful of darkness abilities, or to breach the most impenetrable of walls.
This is definitely Ikora's ship. Let's take a closer look.
Commander, Guardian, I hope you are both safe, and that you found Crow. I haven't been able to raise you on comm, so I cannot be certain. You know I am not one to be moved without evidence. How did you put it, Zavala? Scientific obstinance. But there is an uncanny sanctity to this place. I feel an impulse. I seek to commune with the Traveler myself. I sense if I reach out, that it will reach back. If not here, where? Find me. I'll be at the Cradle. It's just how I remember it.
Cade was the wildcard black sheep of the Vanguard fire team, caring more about adventure and loot. Ikora and Zavala are two sides of the same traveler-stamped coin. Both have put great faith into their protector of humanity, and both have had it tested time and time again. For Ikora's conflict, that tends to be an external conflict. As a warlock, she has the most direct connection to the Traveler, however she also acts as a spy master, keeping tabs on the universe and happenings. She also happens to be one of the strongest Guardians. Yet despite these strengths, her biggest tests are ones that go against her abilities. She has the closest connection to the Traveler, yet she could find nothing but despair after the light was taken in the Red War. She's a spy master, yet was unable to keep tabs on every part of the universe, to some extent meaning she couldn't be there to prevent Cade's death. She's one of the strongest Guardians in the universe, and yet was unable to detect Savathun's plan. Much of Ikora's arc, despite having some of the best skills and resources in the universe, she still feels powerless to stop the grand plans of the enemies of the Lost City. This lack of power over her fate culminates with her final test, with the Witness entering the Traveler. Now entering the world of her god, all that's left for her is to try to look for answers. And what better place than the area that signified our first encounter with the power of the Witness? Cradle on Io is the last place the Traveler touched before it came to humanity on Earth. As a location, it was the focal point of seasonal arrivals, which marked the introduction to the Witness's forces, the Black Fleet. It's discovery at this point in the journey that represents our understanding of what our enemy is and what they are here for. Something else of note is this bridging area for the Blooming. There's a statue of Savathun, the Hive God of Cunning, and a character who is not only deeply involved with arrivals, but the idea of severing fate and escaping one's own. She had her doubts in the Witness's game of creating a universe devoid of meaning. In turn, she rebelled against the Witness, hiding the veil and removing her worm so she could communicate with the Traveler and become a guardian. The statue in turn can represent her relationship throughout the story, with her involvement in Forsaken, with the curse on the Dreaming City, her involvement in the Season of Arrivals at the end of Shadowkeep, the removal of her worm in the last season of Beyond Light, Season of the Lost, and finally her communion with the Traveler going into Witch Queen. It's also by no coincidence that her biggest involvement in the story begins here as well, being the intro to Dual Destiny. A post-campaign side story that involves Savathian teaching that despite their use of both sides of paracausality, we can choose to make a third fate for ourselves, just as she is.
Hey, when we find Ikora, if she's...
Ikora's strong. I'm sure she's fine.
Oh, that's good. Great. But not really what I'm worried about. I was gonna ask if you think she's still mad at me?
For what?
I made a promise, then I broke it. I died.
Cade's reaction here is evident of the recognition of his failures in the past. Cade holds a lot of regret for what he left behind after his demise. One of the biggest facts is he died alone without his fire team in another Daredevil stunt. His death here left a hole in the lives of the Vanguard, as both a leader, friend, and strategist.
So, is there anyone else with you? Not Commander Zavala, I assume. This isn't quite up to his standards.
Hey. I did my best, all right? Given the circumstances, I think Big Blue will forgive me. Will you?
No. It's too much. It's just too much. It's one thing for the Witness to look in our hearts and minds, to conjure up our memories, but this...
Ikora, come on, look at me.
I see you.
I know this is hard. It's tough for me, too.
Tough? What do you know about tough? You were always running off to play renegade, leaving me and Zavala to shoulder all the responsibility when we were supposed to be a team.
I know. I'm gonna make it up to you.
All right.
Yet, it's also a mistake he wants to rectify. Now with Ikora with us, she can relay what the final shape truly is. It is an immortalization of your being, your past, your present, your future. The immortalization would leave you unable to change or grow, and lock you to your fate, whether it's triumph or failure and regret. This is representative of the Witness's outlook, that the universe is a place of endless entropy and suffering because of it. Without a set purpose in life, individuals suffer without the knowledge of why they exist or what their destined goal is. That in turn is why it hates the Traveler, a being whose gifts are being given without a purpose, and in turn, the user is to determine the best use for them. It is a fatalistic and nihilistic outlook on the universe, believing that if given the choice, most living beings would choose the subjugation and violence of another, or in turn would suffer without a lack of direction in their life, and in a long-term scale would suffer due to having experienced development and the process of a society becoming a utopia. It is a fear of the somewhat uninterpretable and unpredictable fate of the universe. There are quite a few interpretations of the final shape, and while I definitely don't have time to go over all of them, I do recommend E4Me's video on the many different forms of the final shape takes. She does a far better in-depth analysis of the final shape and its many interpretations.
So which one of us gets to play commander till we find Zavala?
I'd have liked to see you try, but the Guardian will take point.
To complete the Vanguard, we need our one final member, Commander Zavala, the unofficial face of the Vanguard, and stoic Titan leader. Fitting that this mission starts with Fallen as a result then. We begin to see an increase in the Witness's decorations, a sign that we're heading further into the madness of the final shape. They could also be a clue into defeating the Witness's plan. Let's take a listen. Or not. As we reach the door to the next zone, something of note is how the doors use hands and sculptures to decorate the door. Hands in this fashion are often used as a metaphorical representation of the Witness, given it's a being made of several people. However, the significance of the iconography of multiple hands reaching for the Traveler is not reached until later in the campaign. To some extent, this could also be connected to Ghost's line about the Witness.
The Traveler used its light to terraform planets, to seed life. while the Witness uses it to reshape this world in its own image.
The Witness has been chasing and coveting the Traveler for so long, and now it has it finally surrounded. With outstretched hands, it plans to take the light for itself.
Hey, did Zavala have anything nice to say about me at my funeral? He always gave the best eulogies.
No, not a word.
Seriously?
He wasn't there. Wouldn't come out of his office.
I get it. Sometimes grief's a locked door.
Not grief. Shame.
Out of all the Vanguard to exploit, the Witness has chosen the easiest to prey upon. Ironic given he's supposed to be the most stoic and unbreakable. Zavala, like Ikora, put a large amount of faith into the Traveler. However, unlike Ikora, this faith has made him somewhat fanatical to the Traveler. This has led to him being very rigid in his reasoning, to the point that he often is unwilling to engage with concepts that go against his ideals. However, he has a weakness. Much like Ikora's external conflict, Zavala faces an internal conflict of guilt. His adopted son died to the hands of fallen raiders that they were both fighting. This tragedy caused a rift to form between him and his wife, Sophia, who eventually left him and went her separate ways. Zavala continued to track her descendants to the point where they entered the last city, and continued to ask for their forgiveness at their graves. He is a character with regret, ones he has confronted in Season of the Haunted. However, despite that, there are still lingering pains from the past, worsened by the fact that his god has remained silent to his pleas. The Traveler remained silent when the Cabal attacked the last city. It willingly gave the light to the Hive, their enemies, and despite all the power that it gives, it was still not enough to prevent failure like the Great Disaster and the death of Cade. All the while, Zavala pleads and tries to force his ghost to revive his son, to no avail.
He said no.
Despite technically being in the series for 10 years, this is the first proper introduction to Tarj into the story. Despite everything his commander has been through, and everything Tarj has experienced with Zavala, he's still his ghost, and feels an almost familial bond with him. Their relationship continues the theme that ghosts are willing to do anything for their guardian, and that their bond is nigh unbreakable.
The fallen will not defile my family's memory. Guardian, honor them with me. Defend my homestead.
Left to defend Zavala's home, we defend against the fallen armada that has come to taint it. Something of note is how in almost every mission of the Final Shape, there is a boss with the first part name Pillar of. Each pillar so far has represented a weakness in the character that the Witness is attempting to exploit. In Temptation, it was denial of Crow's past as Aldrin and the glory he had as the Prince of the Reef, as well as his failures. In Exegesis, it was silence of the god Ikora worshipped, compared to the Witness's communion. And finally in Requiem, it's stillness, offered to Zavala for the loss of his family. Going forward, I'll acknowledge each pillar and what they mean. With the brig out of the way, Zavala is confronted with the idea of the Final Shape and being reunited with his family.
I used to think I'd give anything to bring you back. But when the Witness offered me an eternity here with you, with our son, I know you understand why I refused. There are people who still need me. Soon. Safi, I'm sorry.
Zavala has grown since his time in Haunted. He no longer clings to his family memories as a mark of shame that he must carry forever. However, it's clear that still in his memories, he wants to return to them. Sometimes old wounds still need to heal. With that being said, he's still faced with the temptation of the Witness's plan. For so long, he had sworn off using the darkness as heretical and dangerous. Yet now, even in the heart of his god, he finds it everywhere. Without light, there cannot be dark, and vice versa. Zavala is coming to terms that his god may not have all the answers he seeks. Yet there are other voices that are offering them to him. I did want to comment on the performance by Keith David here. Before the release of Final Shape, Zavala's original voice actor, Lance Reddick, passed away. To finish out Zavala's arc, they cast Keith David in his place. He did an absolutely phenomenal job of his version of the Commander in this expansion. He was placed in an already challenging situation of having to fill the role of one of Destiny's most iconic characters, let alone the fact that said character goes through one of the biggest character development arcs throughout the final shape. Props to him for being able to pull it off.
I don't know how you're here, but...
Yeah, me too, big guy. Me too.
And with that, our team is complete. The characters take a brief moment to reflect one more time on everyone who couldn't make it to the final fight.
I mean, I was gone, mourned, at peace, and now I'm here. Opening old wounds, filling them with salt.
There's a deep acceptance of mortality for the entire party in this scene. The inevitable fate that this could be their final death. And with the odds stacked against them and the memory of fallen friends on their minds, it's a painful reminder of how limited our time is. Yet at the same time, you cannot carry the burden of those you've lost to your own grave. You have to keep going for your own sake.
Eventually, you have to let go.
Cade, you've known the Commander a long time. You ever seen him like this?
Worst I ever saw Zavala was right after the Great Disaster. Didn't know the light could go out of an Awoken's eyes till then. But this is something else.
Mission 5 is a good transition from the haunting past to the party. With the group now established, we can get to work finding a solution to take down the Witness. That being said, our party does seem to have a few weak links. With the threat of the final shape looming, everyone seems to be on edge and getting desperate. Thankfully, the Traveler returned Cade to us to try to keep everyone together.
Having Cade back, it's almost like he was never gone. Like the Traveler knew it needed to make the fire team whole again.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It's real nice to see you all again, but the Traveler could have asked before yanking a guy back to life.
Cade, I need to tell you something before we go any further. Meet me up ahead.
Oh, ominous and cryptic. My favorites. Yes, let's.
Seems this may go deeper than I thought. I do like how this mission acts as a continuation of Crow and Cade's relationship from Mission 3. Cade may not have fully forgiven Crow, but he's starting to come to terms with the fact that despite the memories he shares with Aldrin, Crow himself is not Aldrin and wants to do better.
Got some taken popping up on my route. Y'all okay?
Nothing I can't handle. If you need me to come over and give you a hand, let me know.
Hey now, who put who on their back when we threw down?
Oh, come on. You caught me by surprise.
Oh, well, I guess we're even then.
It's a good bit of development, with Crow being able to finally face the person he feels he wronged the worst, and Cade coming to terms with his own death.
No! What was that?
Seems things are getting worse. The Traveler is making pulses as if it's in pain, resisting the restructuring of the universe, but can only hold out for so long. There's not much time left for us to change the fate of everything. But look, we finally caught up with Crow and Cade. What was so important earlier that Crow needed to tell us in person?
It wasn't a traveler. It was me. I wished my way here on an Ahamkara.
On an Ahamkara? The dragon that twists wishes and dreams into waking nightmares? What the hell made you think that was a good idea?
We were out of options. I remember thinking that I wanted to do this because I had to make things right. And just before I took the plunge, I remember thinking about the great Cade 6. No light, no ghost, fearlessly staring up at me from the wrong side of his own gun. Then there you were.
And there I was.
I should have told you sooner.
No, you did the right thing keeping this between us. Ikora and Zavala can't know the truth. Not right now.
They need faith.
Right. And I need a drink. You go on, Guardian. We'll catch up.
So Cade wasn't a coincidence the Traveler performed for us. His revival was at the hands of Crow. Ahamkara wishes tend to be monkey's paws that lead to disaster, and it's partly why Cade died originally, as without the wish to bring back Fickrell, the Scorn wouldn't have formed and killed his ghost. This furthers the theme that Cade didn't have a choice or control over his fate to be brought back. A wish granter took his life, only to grant it back at a convenient time. He has lacked agency in his fate compared to the Witness, who has been fully manipulating its own fate. This revelation is certainly a shakeup for the current party. Ikora and Zavala need faith right now, so Crow, Cade, and the Guardian agree to keep it between each other. The zone has some interesting representation in our journey. It is a reflection of our own beginnings as a Guardian, the endless highways of broken cars in old Russia. The increased snow is reminiscent of the last time the Guardian was here, at the end of Rise of Iron. Additionally, the inclusion of Soul Divisive Vex here represents our first great triumph against the Witness's forces, with the death of the Black Heart.
These Vex are followers of the Witness. Soul Divisive, the same zealots from the Black Garden.
I know all about the Black Garden. You sure you don't want to talk about why you're back?
The why doesn't matter. Never did. Just stay focused and clear a path up the mountain. Listen, Crow, right now, I just need to do something that feels normal, okay? And blasting Vex feels really, really normal.
Just know that the Traveler hasn't abandoned you, Cade. Even if you can't use the light is still part of you. I don't think my wish could have brought you back without it. You could be capable of things you don't even realize.
Cade's reluctance to talk about his current fate represents a stage of weakness for him. He is unsure of his fate or what he needs to be doing outside of what he's currently doing. The news to his fate being limited by the fact he was wished back drives some dread for what he's able to get done. But, as Crow brings up, he still has abilities he is capable of that he might not be aware of. Abilities that will be important for a section soon. We progress further till we encounter a taken Hydra that blocks our path. Not too much of significance here, although the fact it's taken could be indicative of how Destiny 1 ended with Oryx the Taken King being the biggest threat before Gaul's invasion. While Siva was a threat, it lacked the same representation that Oryx did that the darkness was closing in. Its name, the Unwaking Mind, could also be a reference to the Undying Mind, an infamous Vex mind in charge of rebuilding the Black Garden. It is the final wall we face before proceeding past this mission.
This reminds me of a shootout I had on Venus. Wound up stuck under a Cyclops for 2 hours.
You almost sound like you're having fun.
Aren't you?
As we progress closer, Cade reminds Crow not to bring up the nature of his revival to the rest of the Vanguard. His spirits seem to have been rebuilt, which goes to show Cade's resilience as a character. Even when he's kicked further and further down, he's willing to make the most of it, even if it's just a single scratch.
This is it. The energy signature is coming from over there, past the cars where I found you. This is where I found your bones, Guardian. Where I brought you back for the first time. This is where everything started. There's an intense amount of light welling up from this fissure.
That light. That's what it used to be like here, pure and powerful. The golden feeling you get when you're holding a winning hand, just forever.
Similar to the start of Mission 1 and being brought to the old tower, we're given another gift from the Traveler. This time the light forms in the most pure sense it can. It's a sign further of our growth as a Guardian, facing our past and willing to come back stronger and rebuilt. For Titans, their shields are broken and rebuilt into axes to lead their fire team. Reflective of how the city had to be rebuilt after the light was taken by Gaul, and also represents in gameplay by the fact the axes can be reused after they've collided with an enemy. For Hunters, it's a reimagining of the classic Destiny 1 super Arcblade in Storm's Edge. It's in an extent a memory of how Arcblade felt before it was abandoned by most Hunters, fast, fluid, and destructive. Finally, there's Song of Flame for Warlocks, empowering them further with increased uptime on the supercharged version of their solar abilities. While not part of this version, the original Super, Radiance, originally had a perk that allowed the user to revive. Solar Warlocks have had a large amount of symbolism with a phoenix, a mythological bird known for its ability to be immortal, symbolic to how us as Guardians have been reborn with this new power. While these supers from a marketing standpoint are nostalgic callbacks, there's also some representation for how we have become masters of light and dark. With the path forward unclear, Cade and Crow decide to meditate for answers going forward. Cade has a few location ideas where they may be able to cut through the noise to communicate with the Traveler. In turn, we get a little intermission from our journey to explore some lost sectors. These first two lost sectors aren't important towards the larger story, more just representation of eras we've been through in our journey, taking elements from the last city and the Cosmodrome. Unfortunately, both end up being dead ends. The third, however, contains another Guardian, Lucid Hive to be exact. Luzaku, one of Savathun's brood, followed the Witness in by sneaking aboard the Black Fleet. Luzaku is an interesting minor character, as after she lost contact with Savathun while inside the Pale Heart, she broke away from serving the Hive. In turn, she chose to live in peace inside the Pale Heart, assisting the Guardians seeing as they have a common enemy. Luzaku is interesting in this situation as she abandoned the culture and beliefs of the Hive to go off and find her own path after being revived. She's similar to Savathun, looking to find a path forward for her people that doesn't involve the constant slaughter. However, unlike Savathun, who craves the power of becoming a belief system, Luzaku seeks to make peace with their newly chosen god. After Luzaku helps clear out the Lost Sector, Cade and Crow finally make communion with the Traveler.
I don't hear anything.
Mind if I try?
Oh,
What is it?
it's a child's voice.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, it's whispering something.
Crow! Crow! Why did you murder the handsomest hunter in Seoul?
Bastard.
Whoa, wait. You heard that?
Come on, knock it off.
No, I'm serious this time. No,
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hey. You're here too. Great. Maybe we can... What the hell? Oh, Ikora's gonna love this.
Devotion. Bravery. Sacrifice.
The Guardian tenants.
Hi.
Sundance? Is that really you?
I'm what you wanted me to be.
I don't understand.
I know. You've been here before. You will be here again. You just don't remember. You can't. What comes from the light returns to the light.
Well, what if what I want is to stay here? With you?
If that's the fate you make. But you're always with me, Cade. Guardians, ghosts, the Traveler. We're all connected. We're...
Sundance.
Devotion, bravery, sacrifice.
The Guardian tenants. I know. I know. I heard you the first time, but you forgot one. It's... No!
Though Cade might not know it, the Traveler gave him guidance. Devotion inspires bravery. Bravery inspires sacrifice. And sacrifice leads to death.
Guardian, scouts report that Taken and Lucent Hive are fighting to take this pass. We cannot allow them to gain a foothold in this area. Take them out.
With newfound faith in the Traveler, we venture forth. Slight disclaimer for this section, because I've been replaying the campaign, I may be missing some of the dialogue. I will try and credit footage where I can, however if I can, I'm going to use my own footage. The first thing of note is the name of the strike, Liminality. Most people have probably heard this term liminal in reference to pictures that with weird nostalgic feelings. However, the actual definition of the word means transition period between two spaces. This represents us not only passing from the last of our memories to the witness's own, but also the passage between characters. Zavala especially goes through a large growth during this strike. His desperation for answers has led him to becoming reckless. Something else of note is the fact this strike is based around the remains of Ahamkara. The origins of the Ahamkara are relatively unknown, but they showed up around the same time humanity encountered the Traveler. What is known is that they're both wish-granters and shapeshifters, tricksters in nature. Their existence within the Traveler could be representative of the fact that they originate from the Traveler, or it could be the collective memory of the Great Hunt by the Vanguard. There is also our and Crow's experiences with Riven, something that may translate over into these memories. Regardless, their presence here is both one that brings danger of accidentally wishing, but also the mystery of their significance to the Traveler.
This town looks like it could have been abandoned yesterday. Ikora, Zavala, there's a whole town down here. The architecture looks pyramidal, but it's different. Older.
Something from the Witness's past. Buried and abandoned in this mountain. Find out what it's hiding.
But be careful. We still don't know enough about its origins.
Give yourself to darkness. Only there will you find the answers you seek.
Did you hear that? It spoke to us. It wants to help. Just as I told you before.
Or it could be a trap. Listen to yourself, Zavala. I've known you for hundreds of years, but right now, I don't even recognize you.
You just don't like it when people change.
I don't like change that can cost lives.
That isn't your decision to make. When we faced Savathun, you took unimaginable risks.
That's enough. Focus on the mission. Get your eyes up each other's throats and put them back on that tormentor.
Zavala's getting desperate, and as he's getting desperate, he's starting to cross lines that he would never have before. He's beginning to lose faith in the Traveler, but also has begun to accept the darkness as a solution. While the darkness isn't inherently evil, Zavala is staring directly into the Witness's constructs for guidance.
Guardian, between you and me, I like Zavala's moxie, but this ain't him. Ikora's right to be worried. I got a bad feeling too.
We've got a tormentor here.
The Tormentor here feels like a warden of sorts. Its title of Tormentor of Ahamkara, and while it's unknown if it's involved with the Ahamkara before the events of Final Shape, it is implied that it's tormenting the remains of the Ahamkara in the strike. This could be a way of the Witness suppressing our ability to use wish magic, Ahamkara's ability to change fate. It could also be a representation of our will being suppressed. Additionally, Katazia? The Tormentor is guarding some of the memories of the Witness, ones we encounter while going through the strike in the Precursor City. Going back to the idea that some of our own memories are mixed in here, a part of Riven's heart is traversed through when grabbing the Taken Essence before moving forward. While this could just be reused assets for the sake of reusing Ahamkara stuff, it is possible that these are our own memories merging in. With the Tormentor dead, we are clear to proceed. Hopefully we can make it to the Witness before it's too late.
We did it. The way is clear.
Give yourself to darkness. Only there will you find the answers you seek. This is the first concrete, actionable lead we've had since we arrived.
What about Cade's vision? We should follow the path the Traveler has laid for us.
How are we supposed to do that, when all it gives us is more riddles? Devotion, bravery, sacrifice. What does that even mean?
I don't know, but the Traveler wants you alive.
No! You do! That's what you want, Ikora. You once told me that to do nothing is cowardice. And now, you'd rather lose everything than to risk making the wrong move. But you aren't even thinking about that. You're just afraid to lose me like we lost Cade.
Commander, you're out of line!
Stay out of this. You weren't there. You don't know what happened when you died on us.
You're right. I can't lose you, Zavala.
Someday you will. And you'll have to learn to live with that.
There's a storm gathering. You can feel it in the air. The closer we get to the monolith, the more powerful the Witness's influence becomes.
It's interfering with my ability to track the commander. He won't respond when I hail him. The look in his eyes when he turned away from me. I don't know what he plans to do, but he won't let anything stop him.
Copy that. We'll need to move fast.
Unfortunately, Zavala has run off to pursue quite possibly the most dangerous lead he could. He's getting desperate for answers, and the one thing that's offering them is directly connected to our enemy. We have Taj by our side at least. Hopefully he'll be of use.
I've got an idea, if you'll humor me. The statue that implored Zavala to give himself to darkness. There are more of them, all over this place.
You think you can get them to talk?
They'll speak up if they have something to say. That's what I do. Come on, let's establish a rapport. Look me in the eye and speak truth. Where is he? We know he came this way.
Your commander seeks our witness. But without you, he will become one among its many.
What the hell does that mean? Did you do something to him?
Those who have not yet been culled from the collective will guide him. We who have been bound will lead you. You must break through.
So is that an offer to help? Hello? Pointing to our doom. Let's go.
Zavala has descended into obsession. He believes whatever we're looking for can be found with these statues. If he continues down this path, he's destined to become one with the Witness. Yet it seems like the statues want to help us.
That storm.
It's building, growing stronger. Good. If the Witness doesn't want us to come this way, it means we're on the right track.
Seems the Witness is doing everything in its power to stop us. We're reaching deep into its territory now, which means whatever's in here is worth sending biblically accurate storms to stop us.
We who have been bound. It sounds like those statues are prisoners of the Witness, just as Zavala believed. I hope he feels vindicated.
As we get closer, the storm finally hits. Howling Plague of the Witness. What is significant about this is plagues in fiction often have religious connotations, being divine punishments for those who have sinned. Perhaps this is the Witness warning us that this is the land of those who are punished for their transgressions, for those who are non-believers in the final shape, and in turn, this was their fate.
You want to help us find Zavala? Fine, but it's your fault we're in this mess. Why did you reach out to him in the first place?
Our voices are many, but our voices are weak. It's too bright here. Give yourself to darkness. In darkness, our voices will be heard.
Do you think we can trust them?
Something of note is the amount of architecture depicting faces and suffering and hands reaching out. The Witness has always had these types of architecture, however it is here that we see the full extent of what it could possibly represent. The voices of the Witness have been cut out here and have seemingly been imprisoned in these veiled statues. And it seems from the conversation that in a sense, this is a form of purgatory, a way for them to repent for going against the wants of the many. The hands and faces in turn could be how the statues are trying to communicate with us, by pleading for us to grant them the freedom from the Witness. The veiled statues in turn represent the Witness trying to silence them, like putting a bedsheet over something you're trying to cover up.
The last statue said they can only speak to us in darkness. That makes me think they still have some connection to the Witness.
Something that's made up of 1 million individuals is bound to have a few dissenting voices.
We are the shame our Witness could not bear to reckon with. So the first knife cut us out. Exiled until we are deemed worthy. Imprisoned until we can be reintegrated into the final shape.
Finally, we have a name for these statues. The dissenter explains the exact logic the Witness had. It had no place for those who would turn against its collective. It's almost as if over the years, the Witness developed its own consciousness and in turn became hell-bent on the goals set out, even after the civilization had made a realization of the mistake they had made.
I'm sensing a surge of energy, but I can't pinpoint Zavala's location.
It's probably more interference. Just concentrate on him.
I can't.
You can. Just feel for his light.
I can't.
Tarj, it's okay if you can't find Zavala. We're past the storm, but something could still be throwing off the signal. Even if that isn't the case, you don't have to know your guardian by his light.
And how would you feel? Were you in my shell? You scour the earth for years, hunting a vague feeling, growing lonely, losing faith, but eventually, miraculously, finding your mark. You spend years more by his side, watching him fight and die, fall in love, lose himself to grief. You forge a bond, seal your fates. And yet you're not sure if you can do the only thing you were made to do for the one person you were meant for? How would you feel?
Well, I...
Forget it. The feeling doesn't matter. You take the closer source, I'll check the one ahead. I know what to do.
We got your back, buddy.
Ghost, Guardian, keep looking. We'll catch up with Tarj.
Ghost's sole purpose is to find someone special to revive. Some of it is about the Guardian motto, but most of it is about finding someone that resonates with the Ghost. They are meant to live and die by this person, and to lose them, or vice versa, is world-shattering. Tarj's failures to find the commander is not just emotionally taxing for the Vanguard. It's horrifying to him, like reliving a nightmare. He's unable to serve the purpose that he was meant to.
Is weak.
Finally, we reach the last of the pillars. Pillar of Devotion represents loyalty, in several senses. To start, it's a scorned chieftain, specifically a reused fanatic model, a character dedicated to the person that revived him. However, devotion here is also more indicative of Zavala's own devotion to the Traveler, and how it's waned over the years. He no longer believes in the Traveler, and in turn has begun to chase the Witness's dissenters for answers. The Witness knows this and is trying to exploit it in the form of a new disciple. The Aegis returns, once again in our time of need. Something about it always returns to us when we need it most, almost as if it's breaking down the barriers the Witness is putting up for us.
Enemies down. Let's get out of here and find Tarj. This place is falling apart. We gotta move.
The Witness wanted to take us out when we least expected it. Good thing Amplified exists, and it seems Tarj finally caught up with Zavala.
Zavala, please. Don't do this.
Commander, you come to us for answers. We too once looked to the silent God for purpose. But all he could offer was more life, void of meaning. No. Lies. We ran from it. So we sought its opposite. And in it, found means to bring order to an unruly universe. Your traveler had no tolerance for such vision. And we had no tolerance for its ambivalence. We would force purpose from it, driven by a single, immutable will. So we called our doubts fear. Anything that separated us, that clouded our intent, thus becoming one in darkness. What was made can be unmade. Lead us where we destroyed ourselves. Siege laws. And now, we would have you join us. Commander.
No! I see what you are.
What do you see?
I see fear.
Taj, no!
We have done away with fear. We are not afraid. Yes, you are.
Taj gave up everything to save the commander. He fulfilled his purpose as a ghost, and saved the person he cared about most. And in it, Zavala could return and inform us what the dissenters have told him. The Witness is afraid of a universe without purpose or reason. It pushed out the Traveler with its desires for stillness, and in turn, set to destroy everything in its wake. The dissenters gave information on how to defeat the Witness, the place where they destroyed themselves, where the collective is formed and the individual died, the end of the fates for many, and the beginning of the Witness's quest for a shaped universe.
What was made?
Can be unmade. Right! Oh, we gotta link up with those defector specters again.
Once again, Cade comes up with a plan of attack. Cade has always had a skill for planning against the villains of Destiny. He was the one devising the plan to break into the Dreadnought to kill Oryx, he went and got Vex technology crucial for killing Gaul, and he rounded up each of the Scorn Barons before the Prison Riot and Forsaken. It is in his nature to lead us to the end, to put a stop to the Witness.
You know, we ask a lot of our ghosts. And they don't get 1 second chance, much less the million that we do. Just wish I'd thanked my gal Sundance back when I could. But she knew I appreciated her. At least I hope.
The Witness's defector spoke of a ritual site, the place where they destroyed themselves.
Where the Witness was created.
Yes. Zavala thinks he can navigate us to it. Guardian, you lead. We'll follow. Zavala no longer has his light.
But I do have my gun. Reaching the ritual site is our top priority. Do not let your focus stray.
The time has come. We've made a plan to unmake the Witness. Though it was made in darkness, through light we can unmake it. We have learned both the uses of dark and how to master it, just as we learned the light from the beginning. The darkness controls memories and cognition. It is, so to speak, everything we understand and can think. However, the light is a raw force, nature that has no memory or knowledge. In turn, we can make or unmake, only to the discretion of the user.
I was powerless when I stood before the Witness, when I confronted it in that place. But Guardian, your ability to wield both darkness and light gives you an advantage. You will do what I could not.
We as the Guardian have spent our entire life mastering light and dark, culminating in prismatic. We are masters of light and dark, and therefore have the abilities to tip the scales and unmake the Witness.
Forsake the architect of your enslavement. Cast aside your squandered loyalties. You are no longer a pawn of the light. Be free.
The Witness recognizes we've been bound to serve the Traveler for presumably eternity. We've served it as a slayer of darkness since our revival in the Cosmodrome. The piles of ghosts in this room are symbolic how the Witness views our ghosts. They have been obstacles, connections to the Traveler that have blocked our mind from being corrupted by the Witness. To us, our ghost is still our companion till we meet our final death. To the Witness, they are a mouthpiece that continues to be reminders of how the Travelers refuse them as a species.
In truth, you seek not hope, but endless challenge. This ambition is known to us. That what can be destroyed must be destroyed.
The Witness also recognizes why we selfishly would want to fight it. We have begun to see threats like it as challenges for glory and loot. It's almost a fourth wall break acknowledgement by the devs of why we often get excited to fight new villains in the series.
Ascend to your potential. Find your purpose. Be chosen.
The Witness in turn offers a new purpose to us, so should we choose it. This encounter is different from the ones we've seen throughout the campaign. Instead of a pillar, it's a blade. A knife, possibly. The blade of reasoning represents a cold logic of the Witness. It's looking to explain its reasoning to someone else, someone who can understand. This isn't about stopping us, it's about reasoning with us. The Witness is trying to explain why its logic is good and just for the universe, and that we can still be helpful in fulfilling its final shape. Of course, we do not falter, and once again, the Traveler gifts us with the Aegis to surpass the Witness's reasoning. The Witness trying to explain why the final shape is good for the universe reminds me of a class I took in college, where we learned about the story of the Tower of Babel. For those who don't know, the Tower of Babel is a story in the book of Genesis in which people are trying to build a tower to reach heaven. And in turn, God tears down the tower and separates them into to create different languages and cultures. What I was being taught in class was that in the context of the book of Genesis, this was a benevolent thing that God did, and would be seen as God's foresight for the greater good of the people who have done this. This is most likely one of many interpretations of the story, however for the context of this video, it's comparable to how the Witness views its self-shaping fate. The Witness is benevolent, giving purpose and reasoning to the universe, and due to its individual experience from the collective, it can recognize the struggle of beings without purpose in the universe. In this act, it's giving us a chance to realize that what it's doing is for the betterment of us all, or so its logic would try to explain.
The sword logic teaches that what cannot be destroyed will surpass infinity. The Hive were lost to this childish game. Too obsessed by the violence of the first knife to see the final carving. Are you not also a prisoner of this eternal chase? For all your power, you destroy to receive glittering rewards. the commendations of your peers, triumphant accolades for all to see. We offer you an escape. Embrace this truth. Be uplifted, triumphant against entropy.
As we ascend, we get a good view of the entire Pale Heart and how far we've come. The lands have now become cubic and orderly. Like the Witness has created this perfectly controlled and shaped world. They even took a piece of Florida. The world has become extract, something alien. There are parts you can recognize, but the world looks like it's being torn apart by the Witness's desire to reshape the universe. You can even see that some of the universal nothingness bleeding out from beneath the monolith.
Accept all that you are owed. Be adorned.
The Witness recognizes our strength and what motivates us. We've always been chasing material gain, and in turn offering something more than material to us. Power, wealth, and status. Something that we can obtain to recognize its worth and endgame as noble.
Guardian, that looks like the old Vanguard war table.
Lightbearer. These meager pawns you allow to lead you. Their strength pales in comparison to your own. They hold you back from all that you could become. We judged humanity before you made your greatness known. Your worth, your might. You deserve power more than your traveler would ever grace you. Join us, not as part of the final shape, but as a god.
This is furthered here where the Witness offers something more to life, a purpose. All these speeches have been to show that we have mindlessly chased rewards or served a god with no end in sight. We are bound forever by an endless fate.
Tarj was right.
Silence, you insolent speck.
A disciple. You wouldn't make that offer unless you were truly desperate. Terrified. Of us. Of what the Guardian can now do.
However, this action is not won out of the goodwill of the Witness. There is more to our fate than just serving the Traveler, and there's more to our relationship and goals than just an endless pursuit of defending a silent god. We have developed friendships, comrades, and learned to live our lives without the need of eternal servitude to the dedication of the Traveler. In fact, it was the Traveler who taught this much to Crow in Season of the Hunt with the Hawkmoon quest. The Witness is a hypocrite. It's afraid of its own fate and therefore deems the unknown future as something worth fearing. It claims its disciples hold purpose. However, it gives them different reasons for servitude. Rolk was recruited to be given a purpose, Nezarek was recruited to forever torment beings, and Callus was recruited for the nihilistic goal of serving his own ego. Discipleship is what the Witness describes for our own servitude of the Traveler, an endless winnower, taking care of a garden to ensure it remains in its final shape.
You seek the place we destroyed ourselves. Come and be destroyed.
Hey, what the hell happened in there? The line went dead.
The Witness.
We are finally faced with the Witness. There are no more chances for us to stop. Once this fight begins, it won't end till the Witness falls or completes the final shape. This is the place the Witness was born, where the many became the collective inside the Witness. Through this, we can unmake the Witness. The Aegis is back, for one final time. This time as a shield to protect as the Witness begins to dissect the very air around us. I presume this is similar to the ability it used against the Guardians at the start of Lightfall. It unmakes, so to speak, whatever it comes into contact with. Like the Witness is exerting control over the universe it does have into the very environment. Fortunately, the Aegis' own abilities are able to resist this. In turn, we are faced with the Witness' subjugators, designed to safeguard the resting ground of the many.
Subjugator down. Sword. Grab it, Guardian.
With every time we kill a subjugator, the Traveler is able to gift us Ergo Sum. It's an exotic sword that can be earned through a post-campaign quest. However, its origins are of significance. It's a weapon the Traveler is gifting us in our time of need. The Traveler is drowning, struggling to resist the Witness, and all it can do for its savior is gift them a sword with the power to unmake that which was made in darkness. It's a cry for help, but it's also a tool representing our fate being changed. No longer do we need a shield to resist against the final shape. Now we can strike back and cut it down with our own strength. And the dissenters within the Witness cheer us on as they're being cut free. We are saving them from their eternal fate, for forever being trapped within the origins of the final shape. Unfortunately, it seems the Witness's strength is still too much for us. Ghost is damaged even more, to the point where he can't heal us in the Witness's oppressive aura. The Aegis saves us one final time before Mara could save us in the helm. The rest of the Vanguard retreats for now, and the Witness makes its way to the top of the monolith. 3 days left. The final shape looms. But we have a chance, a hope. The Vanguard has begun rallying the troops as the Coalition begins to gather in the Pale Heart for the final fight. This includes the cabal of Empress Cradle, House Light with Mithrix, and Micah 10, the named Den Mother of the Ghosts. With their help, we will begin to prepare for the final shape that looms, with plans to infiltrate in a raid and knock the Witness down from its spire. Now, there are a lot of little things that happen between the end of the campaign and the start of the raid to tie off character arcs or progress others. Some of which I'll be glossing over because frankly, there's a lot to talk about and not enough to make full dedicated sections for, so I'll be focusing more on the personal character growth more than anything. Additionally, like before with the strike, some of this content is unfortunately unreplayable, so I'll be filling in for what I can. Starting with Zavala, something going on in the background after Mission 6 was a struggle to find a purpose now that Tarj was gone. Without the light, Zavala felt like dead weight. Much of his journey in this time is taken by Empress Cradle helping him regain his warrior spirit, and not to give in to the fear of death as the Witness would have wanted.
No easy way to say this. Will you teach me how to use stasis?
He also finally decided to embrace the darkness. Everyone needs a hobby, I guess. A new character of note is Micah 10. She's a hunter that's mostly been in the background of lore and world building, and now finally takes stage as a minor actor in the Final Shape's post-campaign. She has a special connection with the Traveler, one that makes her not only able to commune with the Traveler, but also the Ghosts. In turn, she sends us to go track them around the system and bring them to the Traveler to be brought back for the final fight. While the connection to Ghosts and returning them is in line with the themes of the Final Shape, her ties to fate are far more interesting. We learn between quests how she looked into her past and found she was a child of a Europa colonist, who in turn hired a then not Guardian or Exo Cade as their bodyguard. They grew to have somewhat of a parental relationship, with Cade nicknaming her Ace. Over time, as the Exo project happened, both were converted into Exos at different times, yet Cade still reminded himself of Ace, this vague memory of a child who kept him from going rogue or doing bad. This continued on to his time as a Guardian, even naming his famed hand cannon after them.
I'm coming home, Ace.
Micah 10 found this all out, breaking the Guardian taboo just to learn something about her past, only for her to lose Cade again and Forsaken. She is certain Cade won't recognize her, let alone know she was Ace. She is free to keep crossing paths with Cade, yet cannot ever express to him how much he means to her. She herself fears that she's changed so much that Cade won't recognize her as the child from all those years ago, let alone what his memory has been eroded from Exo resets. All she can do now is be thankful for the time he's been able to give back, to be able to say goodbye one more time.
I can hug him. One last time. And remind him that he was missed. That he saved me.
Lastly is Cade and Crow and Wild Hunt. This quest was considered essential to be considered eligible for the Day 1 raid. The quest involved...
We're shooting Shanks!
It's a hunting story, of Cade passing down the skills of Hunter Vanguard to Crow, from skills to strategies to just in general how to have fun.
Sounds like the perfect place to continue our investigation. Operation Boom Pop Wow is back on track.
What about Operation Popscorn?
Hey, there you go! You see how fun it is?
Before they began the Pale Heart, Cade and Crow developed a friendly bond, similar to what Cade and Andal Brask had before he died at the hands of Tannix. While stopping the Witness's forces is important, it's more about Cade's legacy. The Vanguard Hunter Dare is a recurring dare made by hunters as a gamble to get someone reluctantly to accept the position. For Cade, that dare was whoever had killed him to take his place as Vanguard. And well, Crow in his past life was the one who killed Cade. At the time, Crow had not felt worthy of the mantle of Hunter Vanguard, and mostly toyed with the idea. Yet it still felt he needed guidance on what the Hunter Vanguard should be. In turn, Cade is able to fulfill his role as mentor and complete the dare. In a sense, Crow fulfilled the fate that was just a stupid dare Cade made so someone could replace him. While Cade never wanted the job of Hunter Vanguard, the fact he made the dare to kill him shows he truly did love his friends and never wanted to give up his position while remaining alive.
Hey, tell Zavala and Ikora
The Vanguard is the best bet I ever lost.
Crow has grown, developed relationships with the rest of the Vanguard. With guidance now from Cade, maybe it's time for the call of Hunter Vanguard to be filled. The dare has been completed, and the position set to be filled once this is all over.
You're still my favorite.
Still here, struggling against the cosmic tides, compared to which you are so small.
Finally, with all the preparations complete, it's time to face the Witness. Failure here means the end of it all. It's time to make our own fates. The monolith is interesting, as it's not just the source of the Witness's corruption. To an extent, it is the Witness itself. We see as we enter that the Witness is being supported by the collective, those who still believe in the Witness's goals. Or maybe dissenters who are too afraid to rebel against the Witness. As we enter the first encounter, we are faced with Substratum. The Witness begins to influence it by summoning its hand to try and stop us. Raid mechanics in Destiny have never been truly explained. Sometimes they are just loose pieces of thematics to explain why a boss no longer is immune. However, a theory posed by other lore channels is that the central mechanic of dunking different resonances into the altar is jumbling the final shape, which is why it gives us more time. We are essentially forcing the Witness to play 52 pickup just to delay the final shape further and try to proceed. After enough of the Witness's puzzle pieces have been jumbled, we can finally proceed further, walking through the halls representing the disciples of the Witness.
So confused. To find meaning in this pain. Fall upon our night. Accept stillness as Reese, as fundament, as so many before you were allowed to do. We are not bound by logic. We define its shape. We offer salvation from this futile struggle.
The Witness has given up trying to get us to convert, instead now throwing vague threats of accepting the final shape. It once again uses the words stillness to represent a universe void of possibility. Fate is forever sealed and there is no more uncertainty. It is here we engage with the Herald of Finality, the last of the Witness's guards. There isn't much information on this guy outside the possible theories of what he is. Some people think he's Tannix, brought back for the upteenth time. My personal theory is that it's what remains of the Kel of the House of Stones, Chelchis, one final disciple to stop us. Regardless of what the origins of the Herald is, it's what it represents as a minion for the Witness. It's a husk of someone who is enhanced by the dread. A mindless body the Witness has hollowed out and repurposed to be the perfect understanding of its final shape. Whereas Callus was the herald of the Witness in the second collapse, Tidal was representing his loyalties as well as his nihilistic beliefs. The Herald of Finality is the Witness's last disciple, and chosen winnower to tend to its theoretical garden of the final shape. With the help of Ergo Sum, we were able to clear out the Herald and proceed further into the monolith.
Yeah, I'm in.
You fear answers. Fear the truth you claim to seek. Look beyond this dying garden, or rot in entropy. Each child we save from the game, you again force to play. You call us winnower. We are not. But the first knife clutched in its hand. Gods forged us both. But they cannot tell the knife what shape to carve.
The Witness here is trying to distract us with the existence of a possibly even bigger threat. There has been a lot of discussion of the nature of the existence of the Winnower in Destiny Dark's Light and Dark storyline. Here not only is the Witness trying to divert our attention, but also trying to highlight the fact that it's an instrument enacting the will of an even stronger being. However, this logic fails due to the fact the Witness's view of the final shape does not align with the Winnower's. The Witness is using the Winnower in this speech as a representation of its righteousness. It pretends that it is the will of the Winnower, a being that theoretically could be above fate itself. It also attempts to blame us for the suffering of the universe, that to some extent our actions have caused the suffering of beings forced to play the game. This is in reference to the idea of the flower game proposed by the Winnower, a non-player computer-simulated game that is referenced in Destiny often as a metaphor for life and species. The Witness here claims we are forcing species to continue playing this game against its will after the Witness has removed them from it. The Witness here is trying to shift the blame, that we are the ones forcing these species to exist in a universe when in fact what they want is salvation. This use of blame shifting is another method of deterrent the Witness is trying to use to stop our ascent. We begin to reach the heart of the monolith, and in turn we reach Verity. Verity is both the final gamut for the Witness, but also a reflection of ourselves. It's an interesting encounter because there's no dialogue or lead up, it's just a winding path of routes that lead to the center of the monolith with the objective of just escape. Given its lack of acknowledgement even by the Witness, my theory is that this is the Guardian's mind being shaped by the Witness. The Witness is trying to convert us into the final shape to stop our assault, hence why the wipe debuff is no longer final shape looms and now immediate end. The Witness is melding the fireteam's mind together as a collective triumph. It's trying to confuse us by placing the pieces of the final shape within our mind. And when it notices our efforts and how we have used its methods of shaping against it, it attempts to speed up the process. However, because it fails to reach our goals, do we survive through the help of our fire team. With that, we're able to shape our own memories and define the world around us. Verity by definition means the quality of something to be true or real. And by the end of the encounter, we're able to see the truth of the room as it turns into a dead husk the Witness carved out.
One final act of entropy.
This is it. Our final stand against the Witness and the final shape. At the top of its monolith, it prepares the final shape and is ready to destroy us if it means succeeding. However, there is hope. Our own strength, our ability to make our fate. Also speedrunning strats. Shout out to speedrunning strat for speeding up this section of the video because this video is long and there's only so many times I could say the Witness is trying to thwart us. As we break the Witness's hold, we surge our light and are able to exploit the damage we did in Mission 7, pushing the Witness off the monolith.
Impossible.
Goodbye, Witness. Goodbye, my friend.
We are in control.
I love holding M1. Yeah, I still had like a shot or two.
Defenders of Soul, hear me now! Moments ago, one fire team infiltrated the Witness's monolith and shattered its hold on the Traveler's light. Their courage bought us one last chance to finish this. But the Witness still lives. The Guardians and their ghosts will face the Witness, while we eliminate the remainder of its forces. Our final chance at freedom lies on that field. This enemy has taken so much from us all. Elixni, Cabal, Awoken, humanity, Hive. The Witness started this war long ago. But now, we end it.
Ghost is running on fumes. The Witness still stands strong. This is it. Nothing can stop us now. We have carved away so much of the Witness's forces that another wave means nothing. This time, with the might of the entire coalition and then some. This is what our purpose is. We were revived all those years back for the sole purpose of saving the Traveler.
We peel away the Traveler's light and strip away the purpose it so desperately defends.
We have reached the true finale. Even the dissenters cheer us on as we cut them out of the Witness, opening it up for damage, before finally...
He's a rocket and he's ready to go, cause now the countdown has started and he's ready to blow. He's got the dope sounds bumping and his stereo. Fast, fast, putting on the show. Don't wanna get yourself together, there's no time to rest. And if you put the time in, he'll put you to the test. He's like a running man, in his way more is less. And if you wanna test him best, bring your best. Don't make me spell it out, bring your best. In this world where life is strong, in this world life's an open book. In this world where compromise does not exist. In his world of rules, every step meets the rest. In this world where one is all. In this world never fear the fall. In this world where compromise does not exist. His world of rules, every step meets the rest. Running back again, well, what'd you expect? Coming out to bring 10 out of 10.
The Witness can never grasp the idea of someone making their own fate. For something to desire its own ability to take control of its existence. It has dreaded and feared the idea of the universe without a purpose for so long, caused so much suffering in its quest to end suffering, that its own people rebelled against it. All it's left in its dying moments is its failure to understand why it failed, why the final shape was not only countered, but how fate was changed. For the Witness only saw a reflection of itself as a mirror. Only when it met someone with the same fate was it forced to confront it face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I'm fully known. And now these two remain.
No! Ghost? Please. Bring him back. He's just a ghost. You raised an army. You can bring back one ghost.
He sure shined bright back there, huh?
Cade.
What comes from the light returns to the light. My gal Sundance told me that. She also said we're all connected. Guardians, ghosts, the Traveler. Now you tell the others this was my choice. My light. Nobody makes my fate but me. You're my favorite. Don't ever forget that.
Guardian. There you are.
A new dawn rises over the people of Sol. Celebration. For a battle hard fought. But that's not what this is about. Cade gave his everything. When he sought guidance from the Traveler, it gave him what he needed. We gave her everything to defend the Traveler, yet we still lost ghosts. We could beg the Traveler all we want, but the Traveler has no power to restore its dead ghosts. It never has. But it could bring us Cade. Or rather, Cade could make his own fate. We've accomplished a lot with Cade. We've put up with him at his best and at his lowest. Cade was given a second chance. A chance to make up for every single mistake he had left behind. He was able to keep the Vanguard together in their biggest test of faith. He was able to say goodbye to the people he loved. He even made amends with his killer. His purpose was to be that last push, that one thing preventing everything from falling apart. And he did. All that was left was the Guardian, who took little and was just looking for a friend. Ghost's devotion to the Traveler gave him the bravery to challenge the Witness. His bravery inspired himself to sacrifice his body to defend the Guardian, and in sacrifice, killed him. Cade's vision saw this coming. He was unable to save his own ghost, but he could save someone else's. Someone that had his back since the beginning of his journey through the Pale Heart. Thanks to his own sacrifice, we're able to see the fruit of our work. There are of course the aftermath of the Witness's death, but frankly, they're just a type of loose ends and echoes. We have carved our own fate, and so is the rest of the Vanguard. I've had this video idea since around the time the Final Shapes campaign ended. I haven't really made a lot of personal videos on this channel. I've mostly just complained about Destiny balancing and posted random clip dumps because I refuse to buy Discord Nitro. But Destiny is a franchise I've been playing since launch Destiny 1, where I was just some 12-year-old kid who saw alpha footage and thought it looked cool. This franchise meant a lot to me. I felt like I needed to make one last video to show my appreciation for the game outside of game mechanics and subclass balancing. I don't know fully what the future holds. I am determined this year to at least get as many videos out as I can. I have a set number, but I also don't want to make promises, especially given this video took longer than I expected. A lot has changed with my life, and for a while, I was kind of scared of what was going to happen after I graduated college. I've realized now I can't wait forever for something to just work out. I need to make my own purpose, figure out my own things. And something I figured out is I want to do more YouTube videos. No clue how many people are going to watch them, this is just a hobby. But I hope at least, if nothing else, to just get my creative interests out there. So hopefully stick around to a somewhat less heavy video next time.
Guardian, if you're hearing this, look, I hate goodbyes. I never was good at them, so this ain't that. This is me saying thanks. To you, and Ikora, and Zavala. And Crow. Yeah, I'll deal him in here. Kid deserves a seat at the table. But, thank you. For being the best friends a fella could hope for. The best fire team I didn't want, and the best bet I ever lost. I know folks will miss me. I'm sorry. I never wanted to open up more hurt, but I don't think I can just head on back to the tower. I'm being held together by light and wishes, and it feels like I'm here for a good time, but not a long time. You get me? So while it lasts, I need this life to have a reason. I need it to mean something. And if you're hearing this, it did. I want to make everybody proud. No, even better, I want to make me proud. I hope I got it right this time. I'll see you around, Guardian.